Yeah. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I want to first acknowledge my fire chief, Chief Ford, and our Director of Recreation and Park, Ernest Burkeen. Thank you both for being here. And before I take a few of your questions, I want to take a brief moment to honor the heroism and the just the awesomeness of this young man, Mr. Philip Edison. So often in the media, we are confronted with images of our young people only when something bad happens or if they do something bad. But every day I get to meet young people across our city with so much promise and that are just such great young people. It is truly my privilege and my honor to introduce to you and to honor this young man. You know, we have so many reasons to love our city, and for me, above all else, it's always been the people in our great city that makes us one of the greatest cities in America. And it is that uniquely Baltimorean commitment to being my brother's keeper and my sister's keeper that brings us here today. After a 5-year-old boy was hit by a dirt bike earlier this week, this brave young man leapt into the fray. As a pool attendant, and for what I can understand, a volunteer. Am I correct?
Years ago.
He started as a volunteer, and that's even more impressive to me that this young man has moved up in the ranks of recreation and parks. He started as a volunteer. Now he is a pool attendant at the Cherry Hill Splash Park. Because of his training, and that is a testament to the Department of Recreation and Parks and the Aquatics Division, everyone on board has this training. Because of his training and because of his character, he knew exactly what to do. Philip immediately began performing CPR on that young man in an attempt to save his life. When paramedics arrived at the scene, it was because of Philip's heroism that the boy was alive and is now in critical but stable condition in a local hospital. We keep that young man and his family in our prayers as he continues his recovery, but without Philip, this could have been a very, very different story. And for that, we're very grateful. Philip, your bravery and your devotion to your fellow man inspires me, and I am humbled to have the opportunity to simply say thank you to you today. Your family should be very proud, and I don't have to say it because the smile came in the room first, right, Mom? Yeah. She is so immensely proud of your son. And Miss Glenda, thank you for being here today. Thank you for raising such a fine young man who is an example of what's possible when our young people have the guidance and the support that they need, not just in the home, but in the community. So thank you. And to Philip's grandmother, Miss Phillips, thank you for being, Miss Phyllis, excuse me, thank you for being here today. Both of them are not just proud of Philip, but they're also proud of being rich this morning, which is raised in Cherry Hill, and I want to thank you for representing Cherry Hill this morning as well. Director Burkeen, you have got a pretty amazing employee here in Philip. His actions exemplify what it means when Baltimore is at its best, and when we're at our best, that we are a community that comes to each other's aid when we need it without any prompting necessary. So of course we celebrate Philip for his heroism, and in doing so, knowing that little, we do so knowing, unfortunately, that while we celebrate this hero, we need more heroes in the community to come forward, because the individual that hit this 5-year-old is still at large. We know that there are people that have the answers about what happened, and again, we urge those with information to come forward so together we can solve this crime. I am honored to be able to present this certificate to Mr. Philip Edison in recognition of your heroic effort. I want to thank you again. I know that right now you work for the Department of Recreation and Parks, but this young man is a student at Vivian T. Thomas, and I can tell you that Chief Ford has his eyes on this young man as a future paramedic in training. So I want to turn it over to Mr. to Philip, and thank you so much. You didn't want to say anything? Well, I'll just say thank you. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll bring up Chief Ford.
Philip is very shy. I had an opportunity to talk to him before I walked in. He is extremely humble, and I said, Philip, how did you have the courage to jump in on this incident? He said, I don't know. I said, were you scared? He said, no. And you got to understand, it's a whole lot different from working in an environment that you're accustomed to around the swimming pool to be out somewhere and something like this happen and have to jump straight in. He jumped right in with a selfless act, certainly being my brother and my sister's keeper. And as we held our conversation, he said, I'm at Vivian Thomas and I'm a part of your fire program there. I said, good. So I'm looking forward to you possibly joining our organization. I would be humbled and honored for you to join our organization and eventually be part of our leadership. So congratulations and thank you for your commitment to your community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will open it up to questions at this time.
Can you just ask Philip your age?
16.
Can you?
Almost here. You're doing that or being here?
Both.
He started volunteering before he even was able to get a work permit. He started at what, 13?
He was like 10.
Oh, don't tell me that. Just say 13. Let's stick with 13.
No, when I was saying like 10, like kids, we used to live down the street from the pool. He used to tell Mr. Bobby all the time, like, I'm gonna wear those red shorts one day. He used to tell Mr. Bobby that every day. He finally earned those blues. I was so excited for him. Like, he's moving up to those reds. I'm so proud of him. He used to tell Mr. Bobby every day, we catch the bus to go to school, everything. He would tell Mr. Bobby every day, I'm gonna get those red shorts. Now my boy in the blues. I'm so proud.
Well, now you're going to work on those gold stripes.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Military, he'll be good.
Maybe Mr. Edison, can you just tell us what did you see? I mean,
Well, I seen when I was going down to my aunt's house and the little boy was riding across the street and he got hit. Like, he got ran over, like, the part of his neck, the bike ran over his face and, like, a part of his face and his neck. And the bike tipped over him, and it caused him to break his neck, fracture his skull, 6 broken ribs, he on 6 different IVs.
He went to go see him.
I went to go see him yesterday. He doing fine. Yes, he doing fine. We prayed for him. I took him to the mass here downtown. We prayed for him. We made sure we prayed. I made a card. It's on Instagram. We made a card at my school. I made everybody in my school sign it, and I forgot because I left it at work. And I never took it down there, but it's on IG.
so when you were treating him, were you able to remember your training? Were you able to? So your training did come to mind.
Yes.
All right, any more questions on this?
Can we get the mother's name?
I'm Glenda Ellison.
Ellison, Glenda, can you spell it?
ELLISON.
And Philip, do you spell it PHILIP or 2 L's?
2 L's.
Okay.
And how old are you?
16.
16.
What do you want to do when you
EMT.
graduate? You want to be an EMT?
He's always wanted to work on the ambulance ever since he was little.
Hey, Philip, was there any hesitation? Did you just kind of know what to do? You just knew.
Mm-hmm.
How much training have you had? I mean,
Once.
So what are all your friends saying to you at school? Because I know
I got a lot of hugs, a lot of letters, presents, texts, saying I did a good job. If it weren't for me, he would have died right there.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Both your names are Ellison?
I'm sorry. It's Ellison. Sorry.
So Philip's
Sorry.
name is Ellison.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
Okay.
Typo. All right, I'm ready for you.
Okay, so don't sound too disappointed.
I'm ready for you.
Okay, a couple of weeks ago you were on.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chief Ford.
Can I step in?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm taking over your.
You are. I didn't realize.
I apologize. Around a year ago, actually it started a little bit more than a year ago, through the mayor's leadership, we went out and had an opportunity to bring back a conference here. It's called the Metro Fire Chiefs Conference. That conference is a consortium of the largest fire departments in North America and a few of the largest fire departments in other areas, including China. But that conference is a conference with a purpose. One of the things they do is educate and develop their members, but they also try to leave something behind when they leave. So everything that they make over the amount of money that it costs to put on the conference, they leave for the hosting organization to give to charity. Madam Mayor actually drum-maged us bringing this organization in, and when they left us with $10,000 in particular to leave to Youth Works.
Oh, that's wonderful. Right on time.
Right
Thank
on
you.
time.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very
appreciate
much
it.
for allowing us to put it on.
Well, I know it was a great conference, and I
It was.
appreciate the fact that there is a residual benefit to our young people. And when you take a look at Mr. Ellison and his amazing work, you know that we have a lot of promise in our young people. So thank you for the investment in that promise. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Mayor, how is the fund?
Give me one quick second. Yeah, Kevin. Thank you.
I'm sorry. How is the fundraising going to work?
It's going great. We are very close to closing in on being able to have placements for all of the young people that have applied for work this summer. The director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development is looking to split the summer. Usually it's just one term, so we can make sure that all of these young people can take advantage of the placements that we have. So I'm excited, you know, to see what happens when the community comes together in such an amazing way with a resolve to provide opportunities for our young people. I'm grateful in this moment, but I'm also encouraged by what this means in the future for our Youth Works and our Higher One Youth initiatives.
Mayor, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most, 1 being the least, what is your level of confidence in the ability of your police commissioner to manage his department?
Yeah, I support the commissioner. Why I think your question is compelling. I don't have an answer for that. I support the commissioner. I brought in a commissioner that was committed to reform. The commissioner has put in place a significant amount of reforms that have led to reductions in the number of discourtesy complaints against the police department, the number of excessive force complaints, the number of police-involved shootings, the number of cases brought against the police department for wrongful death, excessive force, all are going down. That's what happens when you bring a reformer into town. Clearly, there's much more work that needs to be done, and I support the commissioner in doing that work.
So
Couple
you
of weeks
don't
ago,
have
you-
any plans of getting rid of him or asking him to leave?
I support the commissioner.
A couple of weeks ago, you were on 98 Rock's morning show, and one of the comments from one of the hosts was, I want to know if my mayor cares and is empathetic. And I've heard you say on a number of times during tough situations that you sympathize and empathize. But one of the comments that I get in relaying that is, it doesn't seem like it. Do you think there's a disconnect, or do you think you've done enough to show the empathy or sympathy in general?
Yeah, it's hard for me to say. I can only be who I am. You know, I know my heart. I know that I've wanted to serve the people of Baltimore since I was a child. I know that I spent my entire educational career preparing for this service. I also know that that I was willing to do whatever it took and put in the amount of work that was required to be able to put me in a position to make the progress that we've made in our city, and I do it, as you very well know, not because of my ego. I'm probably the worst self-promoting promoter as a politician there is out there. I mean, I'm doing this because I love what I do. I love the city. I love the people of the city. I can't, if that does not come across, I can't really do anything about that. I can only, I can be me. And hopefully the works that I've done will speak for me.
Mayor, what is your take on the CNN interview with the two cops in hoods the day of last night saying they're afraid to do their job?
Say that again?
There was an interview on CNN last night, two cops in hoods with their voices disguised, saying that because everything that's happened, they are afraid to police like they used to go out and basically do their jobs. Things are getting by.
I'll say that first I would caution against taking the testimony or the views of two to express the views of all the officers on the street. The officers of the Baltimore City Police Department have taken an oath to serve and to protect, and I think we have to be careful when we say things or to suggest things that these officers are ignoring that oath. When they show up every day to work, we know that they put their lives on the line, and the overwhelming majority of those officers serve us with honor. With respect to those two officers, it's disheartening. But I also know that the issues that they raised are not, they're not new to me and not new to the commission. And the commissioner's been working with the FOP, working independently with rank and file officers, working collaboratively with the Office of the State's Attorney to make clear what is allowed, what's not allowed, to make sure that officers are 100% clear on what their obligations are, and the how to make sure that their actions conform with the law.
But Mayor, doesn't this raise a question in your mind about what the training has been? If officers are asking that question of how far can they go in an arrest, I guess that's what they're asking. If they're saying they're afraid to make an arrest because several officers have been charged in a criminal case, doesn't that raise a question to you about what the training has been in the Baltimore Police Department leading up to this point?
No, I think there are several reasons that they're concerned, and I wouldn't suggest that their training is the reason for that.
What did you say that
Would you just follow up with that? You would not suggest that their training is the reason for their trepidation or their question about what they should do? Just explain what you mean by that, please.
I think that there are a lot of officers that are trying to jibe their training with the charges that were brought, and that work to bridge that understanding is being done. I think a lot of the things that are coming out of the case are different than the training. So I don't necessarily say I should question the training because the case hasn't been adjudicated yet.
Do you think this is a case of shell shock, though? Because you come into office, you say that we're going to reform the police department. You hire Commissioner Bax, who says we're going to make this a constitutionally sound police department. You have Marilyn Mosby, who was elected state's attorney, saying there's a new day, no one's above the law. Then, shock, it happens. Someone actually holds on to their promises, and the officers are going around wondering what the heck happened. Are they shocked because the officers were actually charged, or that someone followed through with their promise to make the police department more constitutionally sound?
I think the commitment was there. The commitment was there from my administration, from the police commissioner. That commitment was, reiterated by the state's attorney. I don't believe that there's a shell shock. I think there is confusion, and the FOP has said that when they take a look at the charges, there's some confusion about when is it appropriate to arrest? What are those the proper policies and procedures? And those are the things that the police commissioner is committed to working on, so that we're in one accord with the police department and the state's attorney's office.
Madam Mayor, the Bureau of Budget and Management Research sent out a letter calling the $20 million a conservative amount when referencing the impact financially of the unrest to the city. And they also cited the 1.7 million in injuries or claims. Can you touch on whether any conversations have been taking place, or just update us on what type of conversations have been taking place in preparation for a drop in revenue sources should one appear?
So your question's kind of rambling. Which part do you want me to address? Whether it's a conservative estimate, whether we anticipate there being a revenue shortfall? I'm not 100% sure where you're headed.
Well, since 2 weeks ago, what type of conversations have been held or meetings have been held to address a possible shortfall?
So I don't believe that there will be a shortfall, and neither does the finance director.
So you don't think the 20 million is conservative?
Now you're asking a different question. You're asking if the 20 million is conservative, and what I'll say is we continue to assess the costs of the unrest, and if that number goes up, we'll be very clear, just as we were to talk about the initial numbers, we'll be very clear and adjust those numbers, whether it's up, whether it's down. We'll put that number out there. Again, you're asking two different questions.
While on the topic of revenue, can I change gears just a little bit? The Poppleton development through today, is that something that you support? There were some concerns about whether the developer had enough experience.
You know, the project certainly has been on a slower track than I would have liked, but I will say that this is a clear example of a city subsidy being used in our neighborhoods to support development that'll create jobs and stabilize that neighborhood, build off the strength of University of Maryland and the expansion of the biotech park. The project, the reason why we fought so hard and we're pushing the developers so hard is because we know what that can represent for what that can represent for that community. So I'm pleased that it's moving through the city council process, and I know that the community members who've worked so hard in collaboration with housing and the Baltimore Development Corporation and all of the stakeholders in the project, I know that they're excited as well.
Have you heard from the developer at all about doubling down on commitments and maybe moving a little faster?
I have not, but I can't speak for BDC if they've heard about that.
We got one more guy.
Did you have a question?
I did. About back to the workman's comp. Where are the funds being drawn from in the city?
Some of the funds were from the rainy day fund, and there was another source of funds that I can make sure that you get. We made that announcement. I think it was last week. We talked about the two different sources of funds for that. All right, but we can get that for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.